In this tutorial, I want to show you how to do, at least how to create histograms using Plotly for R. So we're inside of R Studio here. I've created a new markdown file called Histograms. It lives in a folder on my hard drive. So when we do the little setup here at the top, I'm setting the working directory. To get the working directory, it is where it stays on my hard drive. I'm also seeding the pseudo-random number generator. And we're going to use two libraries. One is Plotly, of course, and the other one dplyr, dplyr. First thing here, you can see inside of a markdown file, I can create a little style sheet, a cascading style sheet, which just colors the headings for me. Heading 1, heading 2, and heading 3, they all get a different color. The heading 3, that color is actually exactly the same. Let's complete that by putting in the semicolons. And then I'm also just introducing a PNG file, so that's going to be a picture that lives on the top of this HTML file or PDF file or Word document, whatever the export is that you're going to use. So the introduction, what is a histogram all about? Well, it visualizes the spread of the data point values for a continuous numerical variable. So what it does is it looks at the minimum value and the maximum value for that random variable, and it divvies up that range into equal sizes, and then it just counts how many of the data point values are actually inside of each of these little sections called bins. Now you can also normalize it so it doesn't just count, but it actually just gives you the frequency distribution, and we're going to have a look at that. So let's create a simple histogram. So we're going to create here a computer variable called WCC for white cell count, for instance, and it's going to be 200 data point values from a normal distribution with a mean of 15 and a standard deviation of 4. So you can see what we've done here with these code chunks. You can actually name the code chunk there, so that when you go to the bottom here and you look at your markdown file, on the left hand side you see the top level. There we go, and we can see the chunks here have actually, it shows their names. It just gives you an easy way to navigate, or someone else who gets your file just to navigate to where they want to be. So these black ones, that would be the headings that I use there with the 2 hashtag signs, so that we're heading 2. You can see all of them there neatly done, and all the chunks. It's very easy to navigate for someone else or yourself a bit later to navigate this document. So we're creating so we are creating the random variable here. Let's go, and it runs, and we see the median there is 15, mean 15.3, maximum 27, minimum 6. And let's create our first histogram. So I'm going to call it P1, a computer variable P1. It's plot_ly, and I'm passing it an x variable. Remember, it's just on the x-axis is a numerical variable that's going to be divvied up, and you have to use the tilde sign in front of your computer variable there. So it's the tilde sign, white cell count. And most importantly, I'm going to say type equals histogram to create this histogram. Let's run this and see what it looks like. So there we go. We've got an interactive histogram. If I hover over it, as per usual with the Plotly, you can see what is going on, how many there are, and the right hand side of each of these bin counts. So it's a little bland and bare. So let's add a title. We're going to use the layout command in this pipeline sort of notation. So I'm adding titles here. X is still white cell count, type is histogram, my pipe operator there, or command there at least, and then layout, I'm going to give it a title, an x-axis and a y-axis. The title again just as a string there, and on the x-axis I can pass a list, so that I have these key value pairs. I have a key of title and a value of white cell count, and a key of 0 line and a value of false. So the title is just going to set the x-axis title, and the 0 line is going to remove this black lines, these black lines that might appear on the x and y axis. Naming the y axis there as well. So let's have a look. And there we go. We can see the beautiful titles now. Histogram of white cell count. I can see count here on the y axis and white cell count on the x axis. So count, I've specifically put that title there for the y axis because it's counting how many fall inside of this bin. So there's 5, there's 6, there's 5, there's 16, there's 26 in that bin. So let's just normalize that. And remember, the normalization is just going to divide the count in that bin divided by the total number, which in our case is 200, and it gives you a frequency distribution. And we're going to achieve that by just adding the hist norm argument here to the plotly function that we have here. So histnorm equals probability in quotation marks there. That's all we've added. And now I've also changed the y-axis title there to frequency, just to so we're sure that is now a frequency. This histogram becomes a frequency distribution. So you can see what fraction of values lie inside of each of these bins. Now to do a horizontal histogram, that's quite easy. All we're going to do is we're just going to flip things around. Instead of saying x equals, we say y equals. So as y equals the white cell count. And remember that you just have to flip your axis names then as well in the layout, because you are flipping this around. Let's run this code chunk and let's see what happens. And there we go, beautiful. We have white cell count now on the y-axis and the frequency on the x-axis, so a horizontal histogram. Lastly, what do you do if you want to display more than one categorical group? And that is really what the interactive widgets are all about. We can put a lot of data inside of a graph, and then we can interact with that graph. So let's correct the spelling there, creating data frames. And I'm going to create a data frame called df. It's going to have two columns, two variables, group and white cell count. To the white cell count, I'm just passing the 200 values that were in there. But the group, I'm taking a sample of selecting from A and B, 200, and replacing as true. So this is going to take A, B, etc., B, A, whatever the random value selects. And then there are more than one ways to go about this, but just to remind ourselves of dplyr, I'm going to create group A and a group B. These are two separate data frames. I'm using the filter verb, and I'm only selecting values that have A in the group column and B in the group column for df. So I have two separate data frames now. As I said, there are more ways of going about this, but I think just a nice little reminder of how to use the filter verb inside of dplyr. So let's do that. Now, if you overlay two histograms on top of each other, of course, the front one's going to hide what happens behind. So we've got to introduce some opacity. So the way that we're going to do that is just saying plot underscore Lee. And first thing we do is just to pass an alpha value of 0.7. So that's 70% opacity. And then with this pipe command, we're going to start adding things. So we add a histogram, and that histogram has an x-axis, which, remember the tilde symbol here, is group A dollar white cell count. So that's the white cell count only of our group A patients. And this time I'm going to give it a name, group A. So when the legend appears on the right hand side, so we can see what colors, what represents what. Adding my pipe there, and then adding another histogram. Again, the tilde sign, this time group B white cell count. I'm naming it group B. And most importantly, under the layout, there's a new argument called bar mode. And this time we set it to overlay. Everything else being exactly the same. Let's have a quick look at what this last histogram is going to look like. Very nice. We can see the two values there, and I can hide both of them. This is interactive, as you can see, and I can hide group B as well, and then bring them back selectively, whichever one I want to see. I only want to have a look at group B, or I might only want to have a look at group A, or I might want to have a look at both. So there you go, a histogram. So let's have a quick look what it looks like when we do knit this and publish it to our pubs. Here we go in our pubs, and we can see the title there, and this is the image that was imported, and you can see the little cascading style sheet giving us this dark blue, this royal blue, and this gold sort of color for H2. So this colorizes and just changes the look of this HTML document a bit, and we can see how nicely these graphs are plotting inside of an HTML file. We can scroll down all the way to this one that's going to be interactive, and we can see group A, group B, and bring them back selectively as we wish. So still interactive as an HTML file. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope that you use Plotly to create some interactive widgets as plots using R.